7 days until the wedding. My phone lit up. A text from Chloe on iMessage. It was a string of kissing face emojis followed by a breathless voice note.
You're working so hard, baby. Don't worry about a thing for the wedding. I'll just focus on looking beautiful for you.
I managed a tight smile and typed back. Can't wait to see my beautiful bride. Sent. Just 30 minutes earlier, I'd hung up from a video call with our investors in Zurich, locking in a critical new round of funding for my company. The valuation had just doubled. This was supposed to be one of my surprises for the wedding, a gift that would make Chloe shine even brighter in front of her family and friends.
Logan? Mr. Hayes?
My assistant Kevin's voice pulled me back.
About the press seating chart?
Stick to the plan. I cut him off, standing up. You handle the rest. I'm heading home. Pushing open the door to our downtown condo, I was hit by the scent of the designer diffuser Chloe had insisted on. It was a cloying, sickly sweet smell. My eyes landed on the living room sofa. Chloe's iPhone was lying there, screen dark. It was a strange impulse, an almost out-of-body feeling that made me walk over. As my fingers brushed against the cool glass, the screen lit up. A banner notification had just appeared. From Jake. The preview read,
Baby, miss you already. Today on your sofa was insane, way hotter than his bed.
Boom. I stared at the words, each letter a white-hot brand searing itself onto my retinas. My hand started to shake, the phone suddenly feeling impossibly heavy. I swiped up to unlock it. No passcode. I remember Chloe draping her arms around my neck, her smile radiant.
Logan, we don't have secrets. You can look at my phone whenever you want.
Right? No secrets. I opened iMessage. The text was right there at the top. I scrolled up. A toxic tide of filthy messages flooded the screen. Explicit flirtations, crude pet names, graphic descriptions of their meetups. Forcing a cold calm over myself, I navigated to her photo album. A folder labeled Private was locked. I typed in the password, the date we got engaged. It opened. It was filled with photos and videos of Chloe and Jake. Hotel rooms, the back seat of his car, and right here, in the condo I'd bought for us, on the very sofa beneath me. Every angle, every act, a high-definition record of their betrayal. The timestamp in the corner of the earliest photo was from a year ago. A year. An entire goddamn year. All my devotion, everything I'd built for us, was nothing more than a punchline to them. My thumb moved mechanically, swiping through the filth, until one image stopped my heart cold. It was a sonogram. The date was 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks. The memory hit me like a fist. I was in Berlin for a tech conference, pulling all-nighters to close the licensing deal for our core AI patent. Before I left, Chloe had clung to me at the airport, telling me how much she'd miss me. And Jake, my best friend, my own project manager. While I was gone, he'd offered to look after Chloe for me. I'd actually thanked him for being such a stand-up guy. Now I knew just how thoroughly he'd looked after her. He'd looked after her so well that my fiancée was now pregnant with his child. Chloe. Jake. Unbelievable. I walked back to the living room, picked up Chloe's phone, found a message from Jake, long pressed it, and marked it as unread. Then I placed the phone back on the sofa cushion, exactly as it had been. I took out my own phone and dialed a number. Claire? It's Logan Hayes. My voice was terrifyingly steady. I need you to draw something up for me, and it's not a prenup. There was a pause on the other end, then Claire Sutton's cool, professional voice came through.
Of course, Logan. What do you need?
Surprise, I said, enunciating each word. For the wedding. Also, I need you to let the board know. We're initiating the contingency plan. The contingency plan, a scorched earth strategy I designed for the worst-case scenario. I just never thought I'd have to use it. The next morning, I walked into the bedroom with a tray holding avocado toast and a freshly brewed coffee. Chloe was still asleep, her dark hair fanned out across the pillow. She looked peaceful, beautiful. If I hadn't seen what I'd seen last night, the sight might have still stirred something in me. Chloe, wake up. I made you breakfast, I said softly, sitting on the edge of the bed. She stirred, blinking her eyes open. Seeing me, she broke into a sweet smile and leaned in to kiss my cheek.
You're the best, Logan. Making me breakfast in bed.
Eat up. We have your final dress fitting today. I handed her the tray, then added casually, "Oh, by the way, remember how I mentioned transferring some of my founder's shares into your name? As a wedding gift." I had Claire Sutton start drafting the paperwork. Chloe's eyes lit up. It was a flash of raw, undisguised greed, but she quickly masked it, throwing her arms around me. Her voice was thick with manufactured emotion.
Logan, you're too good to me. I love you so much. I'm so lucky.
"Don't be silly. We're getting married. What's mine is yours." I murmured, patting her back. By day, I was the perfect fiancé, lost in a haze of pre-wedding bliss. I went with her to the fitting, debated whether we should honeymoon in Bora Bora or the Maldives, and indulged her every whim. Chloe grew more confident, more comfortable, a subtle air of superiority creeping into her behavior. She was convinced I was wrapped around her little finger. But at night, after she'd fallen asleep, the lamp in my home office became my war room. My laptop screen displayed the new corporate structure Claire's team had drafted, a web of holding companies and LLCs. Using the new funding round as leverage, we were moving at lightning speed to renegotiate shareholder agreements and, most importantly, transfer the intellectual property rights for our core AI to a new entity that I alone controlled. I scrutinized every document, every clause, leaving nothing to chance. The quiet click of the keyboard replaced what used to be late-night conversations about our future. Simultaneously, a second front was advancing. My private investigator, Kay, sent an encrypted file every morning. Inside was a complete log of Chloe and Jake's movements. Photos of them kissing in a parking garage. Videos of them feeding each other intimately at a secluded restaurant. CCTV screenshots of Jake sneaking into our condo building. Hotel receipts, phone records. The chain of evidence grew stronger and more damning by the hour. I stared blankly at the images of them clinging to each other, feeling as detached as if I were debugging a faulty line of code. I sorted, labeled, and backed up every piece of filth. The more you two perform, I thought, the grander the stage I'll build for your downfall. To accelerate Jake's panic, I brought something up during an executive meeting. I was looking over the quarterly expenses. I said, feigning mild concern, "A few line items don't quite add up. Small amounts, but it's odd. Jake, you're heading that project. Could you look into it?" Across the polished boardroom table, Jake's hand, holding his coffee mug, trembled almost imperceptibly. The color drained from his face.
Right, Logan. Probably just a clerical error. I'll get right on it.
He said, forcing a smile that didn't reach his panicked eyes. Not long after the meeting, Jake was in my office, trying to sound casual.
Hey man, that accounting thing you mentioned. Is it serious? Did someone mess up?
"Probably nothing," I said, leaning back in my chair, watching the beads of sweat form on his forehead. "But with this new funding round closing, our books have to be airtight. No room for error. You know the drill. I trust you to handle it." Jake's face went even paler.
Yeah, of course. I'll double-check everything.
That evening, I deliberately left a draft of the stock transfer agreement on my desk in the home office. Sure enough, when Chloe came in to bring me a glass of water, she happened to see it. She picked up the document, her eyes scanning it rapidly. A look of pure ecstasy flashed across her face. This, she must have thought, was the proof. The golden ticket was almost in her hand. She carefully placed the document back where she found it and left, pretending she'd seen nothing. But the micro-recorder taped under my desk picked up everything. A minute later, I heard her hushed, urgent voice from the bedroom, talking to Jake.
Jake, I saw it. Logan's really doing it. He's giving me the shares. The paperwork is already drafted.
Her voice was trembling with excitement.
How are things on your end? You need to hurry up. Once I get the stock, we can cover your mess. Don't screw this up now.
Jake's voice on the other end was muffled and anxious. He seemed to be arguing. Chloe cut him off impatiently.
Yeah, I know. Just keep your head down until after the wedding. Logan's been asking about the financials, so you need to be smart.
She hung up and started humming as she went into the bathroom, clearly on top of the world. I sat in the darkness of my office, listening to the recording. The show was just getting started. Jake's desperation and Chloe's greed would be the fuel for their own funeral pyre. The wedding was getting closer. I sent a text to Claire. Proceed as planned. Ensure every piece of evidence is ironclad for the ceremony.
Don't screw this up now.
Chloe's greedy, triumphant voice echoed from the recording. I switched off the device. If they loved scheming behind my back so much, the least I could do was give them a more convenient venue. The next day, I came home with a sleekly packaged box. Inside was the latest smart home hub on the market. Chloe, look what I got for us, I announced, holding it out to her. Her eyes widened.
Wow, is that the new Aura Hub? I saw the launch keynote. I've been wanting one. How did you know?
You mentioned you liked the design, and it's time we made our new place a little smarter. I smiled, helping her unbox it. Let me set them up. One for the living room, one for the bedroom. You could just ask her to play music or dim the lights. Chloe was thrilled, standing on her toes to give me a kiss.
You're the best husband ever.
I connected the devices to our Wi-Fi, placing one on the media console and the other on her bedside table. I even helpfully linked her Spotify account. She spent the next 10 minutes testing voice commands, completely oblivious to the small, unauthorized modifications I made during the setup process. They weren't just smart hubs anymore. They were my ears, listening 24/7. Later that night, with Chloe sleeping soundly beside me, I slipped out of bed and went to my office. I put on a pair of noise-canceling headphones. On my screen was an encrypted email from Claire's forensic accounting team. The attachment was a detailed report on Jake's embezzlement. Using his authority as a project manager, he had siphoned nearly $1 million from the company over 6 months. The funds were funneled through a shell corporation and then gambled away on a high-risk crypto scheme. It had all vanished. To cover his tracks, he'd forged invoices and contracts. Every fraudulent wire transfer, every doctored expense report was laid bare. The evidence was irrefutable. It was more than enough to send him to prison for years. I felt nothing looking at the cold, hard numbers. Jake's ambition had always outstripped his talent. This was inevitable. I just never thought he'd be stupid enough to steal directly from me. A notification popped up. The living room hub was picking up sound. I clicked play. It was Jake's voice, low and furious.
Chloe, when are you getting the money? I'm about to go under. The guys I owe are calling my parents.
Keep your voice down.
Chloe's voice was sharp and annoyed.
Nag, nag, nag. That's all you do. I told you, after the wedding. Logan's giving me the shares, plus all the wedding gifts. That will be more than enough to plug your hole.
After the wedding might be too late.
Jake sounded desperate.
Are you sure he doesn't suspect anything? He keeps asking about the project finances.
He doesn't suspect a damn thing.
She scoffed.
The man is completely whipped. He's so in love with me it's pathetic. He showed me the draft of the stock transfer yesterday. He worships me. You're the useless one here. Can't even manage a little money. If you hadn't promised me this big score, I never would have bothered with you.
Now you're blaming me?
Jake's voice rose.
Who is it that said Logan was a great coder but a terrible businessman? That after we got married, his precious little company would be ours? Who is it that said his core AI patent was the real prize, and we had to figure out a way to get it?
Chloe was momentarily speechless, then she laughed coldly.
So what if I did? You think you didn't want that too? And don't forget, this baby is yours. Once it's born, we'll say it was his. The timing is close enough, he'll never know. With a baby in the picture, he'll give me anything. Everything he has will be ours.
Ours? Huh.
Jake's laugh was full of scorn.
Yeah, right.
A long silence followed, then the sound of shuffling and the front door closing. Jake was gone. I took off the headphones, clipped the audio file, and saved it to an encrypted drive under the name Exhibit. Whipped? Pathetic? His precious little company? Unbelievable. Chloe and Jake. A match made in hell. I called Claire. Claire, we have everything we need. Her voice was as calm as ever.
Logan, we have the audio, the videos, Jake's full financial audit, and the preliminary DNA comparison report. The lab matched the sample from Miss Vance's discarded water bottle to the one from Mr. Miller's cigarette butt. It indicates a 99.9% probability of paternity. All evidence has been notarized and secured.
She paused, her tone growing serious.
Logan, I have to ask one last time. Are you absolutely certain you want to do this at the wedding? This will ruin them. Publicly and permanently.
I walked to the floor-to-ceiling window of my office, looking down at the small terrace garden. A few weeks ago, Chloe had planted roses there. For our eternal love, she'd said. Eternal. What a joke. Claire. My voice was flat, as if discussing a business contract. When they were stabbing me in the back, did they worry about my feelings? When they were plotting to gut my company and steal my life's work, did they consider the consequences? Betrayal doesn't deserve a graceful exit. Stick to the plan. On the day of the wedding, I'm giving them a gift they will never, ever forget. Mr. and Mrs. Vance. I walked over, offering a polite smile. Chloe's father shot up from his chair, clapping me on the shoulder with excessive enthusiasm.
Logan, there he is. Come, sit. Chloe marrying you is the best thing that's ever happened to this family.
The satisfaction in his voice was thick enough to cut with a knife. You're too kind, sir. I'm the lucky one, I said, my smile perfectly calibrated as my eyes met Chloe's. She was wearing a new dress, her makeup flawless. She looped her arm through mine, playing the part of the blissful fiancé, as if she hadn't been on the phone with her lover just last night, plotting to steal my fortune. Jake was there too, my best man. He was hunched in a corner, staring into an empty glass, looking pale and haunted. When he saw me, he managed a smile that was more like a grimace.
Logan.
Glad you could make it, Jake, I said, nodding as I took the seat directly across from him. Throughout dinner, Chloe's parents endlessly praised my business acumen, their interest in my company's new valuation far exceeding any interest in me as a person. I parried their not-so-subtle questions while playing the attentive fiancé, peeling shrimp for Chloe and filling her glass. Chloe soaked it all in, leaning against me and whispering,
You're so good to me.
I looked into her sparkling eyes, which reflected my own face back at me, but I couldn't find a trace of sincerity. I smiled back. You deserve it. Under the table, my foot accidentally brushed against Jake's. He recoiled as if he'd been electrocuted. The dinner was an exercise in tension. Aside from Chloe and her parents, who were basking in their perceived good fortune, no one was breathing easy. Afterward, as I was getting my car from the valet, Jake hurried to catch up with me.
Logan, wait up.
He wrung his hands, his expression a tangled mess of fear and indecision.
That expense report thing. Did you find anything?
Still looking into it, I said, leaning against the car door. Why, Jake? You find something I should know about?
No.
He said quickly, avoiding my gaze.
Just, with the new funding, don't want any loose ends. We're buddies, man. If there's a problem.
His words trailed off, sweat beading on his temples. Of course. I cut him off smoothly. We're best friends, and you've known Chloe forever. We're all family now. Anything comes up, we'll handle it. I wouldn't let my best man hang out to dry. I deliberately emphasized the words family and best man. Jake seemed to relax for a second, then tensed up even more. He let out a dry, hollow laugh.
Right. Family. Well, I'll see you at the wedding.
I watched him practically flee into the night and allowed myself a cold smile. Trying to use our friendship as a shield? Too late. The next day, I went to the Fairmont to check on the final preparations. The grand ballroom was breathtaking, a forest of white roses, draped silk, and shimmering crystal chandeliers. The wedding planner, Amy, was supervising her team as they tested the AV equipment.
Mr. Hayes, what do you think?
Amy asked, pointing to the enormous LED screen that served as the stage's backdrop.
We'll play your love story video right after you exchange vows. It'll be so moving.
It's perfect, I said, walking over to the control booth. I just need to double-check the inputs for the sound system and projector. I have a little surprise presentation of my own that I'll be running.
Oh. What is it? Do you need our help to coordinate?
She asked, intrigued. It's personal. I'll handle it myself. You just run the ceremony as planned. I checked the HDMI ports and audio lines, making sure everything was exactly as I needed it. Amy, assuming it was some romantic video montage, just smiled.
You're so romantic, Mr. Hayes. Chloe is going to be so touched.
I didn't answer, my focus entirely on the technical details. There would be a surprise, all right, and it would be a judgment, not a celebration. That night, a new email arrived from Kay. Along with logs of Jake's frantic calls to high-interest lenders, there were several screenshots. They were from a group chat Chloe had with her bridesmaids.
Girls, look at the new bag my fiancé got me. It's a limited edition.
Below it was a picture of the designer handbag I'd bought her a few days ago.
The dress is to die for, you guys are going to freak out. The wedding's in the grand ballroom at the Fairmont. Hope you all can make it and share in our happiness. Ugh, I know it's all so extra, but Logan just insists on giving me the best of everything. He keeps saying all his money will be mine soon anyway, lol.
I closed the laptop, my face a mask of stone. The night before the wedding, I stayed in the penthouse suite I kept at the office. I opened the Photos app on my phone and scrolled through the album dedicated to Chloe. Us in college, young and awkward. Us celebrating the day my startup got its first seed funding. Us on the day I proposed. Her face lit up as she stared at the ring. These were once the cornerstones of my happiness. My fingers slid across the screen, a slideshow of a life that was a lie. I had thought I was looking at my future. I was just looking at an elaborate con. Without hesitation, without a pang of regret, I selected all and hit delete. A confirmation box appeared. Are you sure you want to permanently delete all selected items? I tapped delete. The album was empty, just like my heart. The past, and the foolish man who had believed in it, needed to be buried. The city lights of San Francisco painted shifting patterns on the window, bright and cold. Tomorrow was the day. Chloe, Jake, I hope you're ready for your wedding gift. ###05 the day of the wedding. The grand ballroom at the Fairmont was a fairy tale scene. Crystal chandeliers cast a diamond dust light over everything, and the air was thick with the scent of champagne and thousands of white roses. Guests in tailored suits and designer dresses murmured politely, their faces arranged in pleasant smiles. Among them were several reporters from TechCrunch and Bloomberg I'd personally invited, their cameras flashing, ready to document the tech wedding of the year. The orchestra swelled, and the ballroom's massive doors swung open. And there was Chloe. She was breathtaking in a couture gown that had cost more than a sports car, its train glittering with hand-sewn crystals. Her father, a man more interested in my company's valuation than my character, beamed with pride, clutching her arm as he escorted her down the aisle. Chloe's face was a perfect portrait of bridal ecstasy, a smile she had practiced for months. She looked at me, her eyes shining with the thrill of finally landing her prize. I stood at the altar in my tuxedo, a gentle, loving smile fixed on my face. She reached me. Her father placed her hand in mine with theatrical solemnity. The officiant began, his voice echoing with practiced reverence. Logan Hayes, do you take this woman, Chloe Vance, to be your lawfully wedded wife, in sickness and in health? Wait, I cut him off. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried through the suddenly silent ballroom. Every head turned. A ripple of confusion went through the crowd. Chloe's perfect smile faltered.
Logan?
She whispered, her eyes wide. I took the microphone from the officiant stand. I looked directly at her, then out at our guests. My smile remained, but my eyes were ice. Before I answer that sacred question, I'd like to share something special with all of you. It's a little surprise I put together for Chloe. I said, putting a sharp, ironic edge on the word. A video about our journey of love. A few people chuckled, assuming this was part of the modern ceremony. Chloe visibly relaxed, her sweet smile returning as she looked expectantly at the giant LED screen behind me. I discreetly pressed the button on the small remote in my hand. The screen lit up. It was not a romantic slideshow. The first image was a grainy photo of Chloe and Jake, kissing in a dark corner of a bar, his hand shoved up her shirt. It was immediately followed by another, the two of them, naked and tangled together on a messy hotel bed. Then one in a car, and then several more, the background sickeningly familiar, the living room sofa in our condo. A brutal, high-definition montage of their affair assaulted the audience. Photo after photo, video clip after video clip, each one more damning than the last, played in rapid succession. On screen, Chloe moaned while Jake sweated, their flushed, ecstatic faces captured in merciless detail. The romantic wedding march had been replaced by a tense, percussive score, each beat like a hammer blow to the heart. A collective gasp went through the ballroom. The quiet murmurs turned into a roar of shocked whispers. Guests stared, mouths agape, their eyes darting from the obscene images on the screen to the bride standing on the stage, her face a deathly white. I watched Chloe's father, the proud patriarch, turn a shade of purple. He swayed on his feet, his eyes locked on the screen, disbelief warring with fury. Chloe was frozen, her mouth open in a silent scream. Her body began to tremble violently, the glittering diamonds on her gown mocking her. In the front row, Jake was the color of ash, sweat pouring down his face, his eyes darting around like a trapped animal. The video froze on a single, perfect frame, Chloe and Jake kissing on her sofa. The image held, and then a voice filled the room, amplified by the state-of-the-art sound system. It was Chloe's voice, sharp and smug.
The man is completely whipped. He's so in love with me it's pathetic. He showed me the draft of the stock transfer yesterday. He worships me.
Then Jake's voice, anxious.
After we get married, his precious little company will be ours. That core AI patent is the real prize. We have to figure out a way to get it.
And Chloe again, her tone cold and calculating.
And don't forget, this baby is yours. Once it's born, we'll say it was his. The timing is close enough, he'll never know. With a baby in the picture, he'll give me anything. Everything he has will be ours.
Ours? Huh.
Jake's scornful laugh. The audio clips played on, one after another. Every recorded moment of their conspiracy to defraud me, their mockery of my love, their plan to pass off their bastard child as my heir, broadcast for the world to hear. The crowd was stunned into silence. The sheer, calculated cruelty of the plot was beyond anything they could have imagined. The silence was broken by a wave of revulsion. Scornful, disgusted, furious glares shot like daggers toward Chloe and Jake. Chloe finally broke. She let out a piercing shriek and crumpled to the floor in a heap of white silk and shattered dreams. I stepped forward, microphone in hand, and stood over her sobbing form and Jake's paralyzed one. I looked down at them, my voice a blade of ice that cut through the chaos. So, I believe the real bride and groom here. Are you too? I turned to the stunned audience and the furiously flashing cameras of the press, and I gave a slight nod. From the crowd, a figure emerged. Claire Sutton, impeccable in a black power suit, her expression grim and resolute. She held a leather portfolio and strode purposefully onto the stage. Claire, I said, handing her the microphone. Perhaps you could clarify a few things for our guests.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, members of the press.
Claire's voice was crisp and authoritative, cutting through the stunned silence.
On behalf of my client, Mr. Logan Hayes, I am here to provide some context. First, we have a copy of Ms. Vance's prenatal report, confirming a pregnancy of approximately 8 weeks. Second, we have a preliminary DNA report indicating a 99.9% probability that Mr. Jake Miller is the biological father of the fetus.
Chloe's father lunged forward and snatched the document from her hand, his face a mask of apoplectic rage. He couldn't speak. Claire didn't miss a beat.
And finally, we have a comprehensive dossier detailing Mr. Miller's embezzlement of nearly $1 million from Mr. Hayes' company, Stellar AI. The evidence includes forged contracts, fraudulent invoices, and a complete trace of the stolen funds. All documents have been notarized.
Her gaze fixed on Jake, who looked as if he might faint.
A formal criminal complaint for felony embezzlement and wire fraud was filed with the district attorney's office this morning. I imagine you'll be hearing from them shortly.
No. It's not true. Logan.
Chloe scrambled up from the floor, her dress torn, mascara running in black rivers down her face. She lunged at me, clawing at my suit.
Logan, listen to me. It was him. Jake made me do it. He seduced me. I only love you, Logan, you have to believe me.
Love me? I let out a dry, mirthless laugh. Is that what you call it? Then how do you explain the money Jake funneled into your bank account? The transaction record for the designer bags and jewelry he bought you with my company's money. My gaze dropped to her still flat stomach. And how do you explain this little surprise? Chloe's pleading choked at her throat. She just shook her head, a wild, cornered look in her eyes as her world imploded. Since you two are so deeply in love, I said, nodding to my assistant, Kevin, who was standing nearby. Kevin stepped forward with a manila envelope. I took it from him, walked over to the disgraced couple, and pulled out 2 blank marriage license applications. I let them flutter from my fingers. They landed on the plush carpet at their feet like a death sentence. A child needs a father, a complete family, I said, my voice soft, almost gentle, which made it all the more cruel. I've already taken the liberty of arranging for a clerk from City Hall to meet you. They're waiting downstairs. Fill these out. Consider it a final thank you for your devotion. It was the final, devastating blow. Chloe's wails stopped. She stared at the forms, then at me, and a sound of pure, animalistic agony tore from her throat before she collapsed into hysterics. The ballroom was a symphony of chaos. Chloe's soul-shattering sobs, Jake's ragged, hopeless gasps, the shocked murmuring of the guests, and the relentless, deafening shutter clicks of the reporters' cameras. My apologies for the interruption. I announced into the microphone, my voice calm and even. My wedding is now concluded. Thank you all for coming. I set the microphone down. Without a backward glance at the ruins of the 2 lives I had just systematically dismantled, I walked off the stage and out of the ballroom. Outside the hotel, the bright California sun hit my face. I barely blinked. My phone buzzed. I pulled it out. A breaking news alert from Bloomberg filled the screen. Stellar AI founder Logan Hayes secures full company control, closes $300 million Series C round led by Sequoia Capital. Valuation skyrockets as company expands aggressive push into generative AI. I got in the back of my waiting car. To the office. ####07, the latest cover of Fortune was me. The headline was bold, the coldest mind in tech. Logan Hayes and his AI empire. The media loves a comeback story, and they call my last 3 years legendary. From the ashes of that train wreck of a wedding, I'd restructured the company, weathered the storm, and pivoted hard into the AI boom. Now, Stellar AI was a unicorn, valued in the billions.
Admiring your kingdom, Logan?
Claire Sutton's voice, tinged with wry amusement, came from behind me. I turned. She was dressed in a sharp white pantsuit, her hair perfectly styled. She was no longer just my lawyer. After 3 years of fighting in the trenches together, she was Stellar's chief strategy officer, my most trusted advisor. We were partners. Just thinking that 3 years ago today, we were scrambling for our Series A, I said with a faint smile. Times have changed. She handed me a tablet.
Here's the Q4 budget proposal for the new MedTech division. Take a look.
We slipped into work, the ghosts of the past long since banished by the promise of the future. As for Jake and Chloe, news of them surfaced occasionally like dust motes in a sunbeam. Jake was convicted. He served 3 years. He got out a few months ago, but with a felony record for embezzlement, he was radioactive in the tech world. Someone saw him drinking alone in a dive bar in Oakland, a ghost of his former self. And Chloe, the wedding was the end of her life as she knew it. The Vance family, mortified by the public humiliation, effectively disowned her. She had the baby, a boy, and was raising him on her own. The pampered princess was now working a series of dead-end jobs to make rent, retail, telemarketing, anything to stay afloat. They never did get married. The aftermath wasn't dramatic. It was just a slow, grinding decay into mutual resentment and blame, two people chained together by their shared disgrace. Claire would sometimes mention these things as background intel. I'd listen with a complete lack of emotion. It was like reading the epilogue of a book I'd finished long ago. The characters were no longer real to me. One night, Claire and I were leaving a charity gala. A cold autumn rain was falling over San Francisco. As my driver pulled up, I ducked into a corner coffee shop for a hot Americano. While waiting for the light to change, my gaze drifted across the street. Under the sickly yellow glow of a street lamp, a woman in a thin jacket and a cheap plastic poncho was mechanically handing out flyers to uninterested passersby. Rain had plastered her hair to her forehead. She looked up, and for a split second, our eyes met across the lanes of traffic. It was Chloe. Time seemed to freeze. The numb exhaustion on her face was instantly replaced by shock, then a tidal wave of shame, humiliation, and a deep, bitter resentment. Her lips parted as if to say something, but no sound came out. She just ducked her head, clutched her flyers, and fled into the darkness of a wet, narrow alley. The entire encounter lasted less than 5 seconds. I stood there, the warmth of the coffee cup a small anchor in the cold night. Claire appeared at my side with an umbrella, her eyes following my gaze to the now empty street corner. She was smart enough to understand immediately.
Should I do something?
She asked softly. I shook my head, my focus shifting back to the green light of the crosswalk. My voice was as calm as the steady rain. Some people, some things, you just have to leave in the past. The car moved silently through the rain-slicked streets. I leaned my head against the cool leather of the seat, watching the city lights blur into streaks of color. You know, Claire, I said, my voice even, the best revenge isn't about utter destruction. She looked at me, waiting. It's forcing them to watch you become everything they try to take, everything they'll never be. It's building a life so far beyond their reach, they can't even comprehend it. That, I knew, was a punishment far more absolute than any public shaming. A few days later, after a quarterly review, Claire paused at the door of my office.
By the way,
She said, her tone casual.
I had HR send an interview request to Chloe Vance. It's for an administrative assistant role at a mid-size marketing firm we have a minority stake in.
I looked up at her. She met my gaze without flinching.
I sent it from a personal email and listed myself as the reference. At the bottom of the email, I wrote, "We all deserve a chance to move forward. It's not about forgiveness. It's about letting go."
She hesitated for a fraction of a second.
It wasn't on your authority. It was just a personal decision. Of course, if you object.
I understand. I interrupted, picking up the next report from my desk. Let's go over the risk assessment for the London expansion. ####08. The click of heels on the polished concrete floor approached from behind. I didn't have to turn around to know who it was.
Thinking about the past?
Claire's voice was quiet. She came to stand beside me at the window, handing me a mug of hot tea. The warmth seeped into my hands. I shook my head, meeting her eyes with a genuine smile. No, I'm thinking about the future. The future. I looked down into the steam rising from the mug, watching it blur the glittering tapestry of the city below. I used to think that destroying them, making them suffer as I'd suffered, was the end goal. I said almost to myself. But I was wrong. I continued. Real victory isn't about them at all. It's about becoming so strong that what they did can't even create a ripple in your soul. It's about reaching a place where they can only look up at you in awe, and you've forgotten to even look down. It was a profound sense of peace, a calm born not from vengeance, but from my own strength. Claire's eyes reflected my own image and the endless city lights behind me. She listened and then nodded slowly.
You've done it, Logan.
We shared a smile. So much between us was unspoken, understood. In 3 years, she had become more than my colleague. She had witnessed my resurrection and helped me build an empire from the rubble. Maybe love would find me again someday. Maybe it wouldn't. It no longer felt like the axis on which my world turned. I turned away from the sprawling city at my feet and looked up toward the vast, dark sky where the stars burned, distant but incredibly bright. Our journey, I said as much to myself as to her, is to the stars. The shadows of 3 years ago had finally, completely vanished, burned away by the light of my own making. My life had a new beginning, and the story I was writing now was infinite.